Alright, y'all, so let's start off talking about, well, today's video is going to be about who I believe the true NBA title contenders are this season. And let's just start this off by, first of all, saying congratulations, D Rose just announced his retirement. I'm recording this at halftime of Warriors Lakers right now. It's a great game, but D Rose just announced his retirement like an hour or so ago, I think. I'm scratching my leg. Don't be weird. So yeah, let's start this video off. So let's talk about the NBA standings as I record this. March 16th, like I said, Warriors Lakers. They're playing right now. I think it's like a 1 point game or something. It's been a great game. Steph Curry just got hot. Like Clay's been hot the whole game. LeBron's been hot the whole game. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the standings. So as I sit here right now, let's talk about the East first because to me the East is, a little bit more of a no-brainer. And I think it's easier to talk about those teams. And plus, like in the West, like I said, there's still games going on right now. So let's just talk about the East first. So as you can see right now, which you can see, the Celtics are the 1 seed in the East. They've already clinched the playoff spot. They got 50 wins, which is the third straight year they've got 50. They've been to the Eastern Conference Finals back-to-back years. My assumption is they'll go back. My assumption is they'll go to the finals for the second time in 3 years this year. So they're the 1 seed. They're followed by Milwaukee at the 2, Cleveland at the 3, New York at the 4, Orlando at the 5, Indiana at the 6, and then at the play-in, we have Miami at the 7, and I could very easily see Miami moving up. I think they're like half a game behind Indiana, and then I think Indiana's like a game behind Orlando. So those spots, 5, 6, and 7 in the East are close right now. Like I said, game's still going on, so this could change by the end of the night. By the time you're watching this, most definitely probably change, but yeah. And then Philly at the 8, Chicago at the 9, Atlanta at the 10. And so to me, those are the East standings right now. To me, in the East, there are 2 real contenders, and I believe you guys know who this is. It's Boston and Milwaukee for me. We know who Boston is. Like I said, they've been to the finals. They went to the finals 2022, Eastern Conference Finals, lost in a Game 7, but almost came back from down 3-0 last year to Miami. Miami's a team we'll talk about later because they're interesting. So yeah, we know who Boston is, and then this year, to me, this is the best team that Tatum and Brown have been a part of. Tatum and Brown, we know who they are. We know what duo they are. They're great. Both going to be. Tatum's definitely going to be All NBA. I'm not sure if Brown will, but they're both All Stars. We know who they are. And to me, a key thing is there's 2 key additions. We all know this: Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. But a key thing for me is that with the addition of Drew Holiday, they added a guy not only on defense who can do a lot of things. Doesn't have to be a star player for you. Just has to be one of your top 4 guys. But you add a guy with finals experience, a guy that has a ring, a guy that knows what it takes to win, a guy that won one not long ago in 2021. So that's a big addition to me. And then you got Porzingis. He stretches the floor. He's a great rim protector. We know what he does. Great offensive, great defensive, big body, tall. Not big weight, but tall. You know what I'm saying? And then they have bigs on their bench. You know what they have with Al Horford. We know who Derek White is. Like Derek White, great defender, great shooter. We know what Derek White brings. And they're deeper than a lot of people think they are. Like I do have questions about their bench. Sure, their bench isn't great. I don't think their bench is as great as some other teams. Like I can't think of anything off my head right now. But their bench isn't great. But their bench isn't bad either. Like I definitely trust Horford. We know what he has. Like I believe if he gets this ring, he might just retire after this year. We know he's a really experienced player. We know what he brings to the table. Peyton Pritchard, guy that can shoot. We know what he is. He's not like one of those, but like. He's not one of those guys that's going to be like, a 6 man of the year, but you don't need him to be. Like, when your starting lineup is that good, and you have Al Horford, and you have a great coach in Joe Mazzulla, and it's not even his first year anymore. Like, that experience under his belt last year to me was also big for him, that playoff experience. So the Celtics, to me, like, the East this whole year, really, like I said, there's 2 contenders, but Boston, it's really been Boston and everyone else in the East this year for the whole year. And like for a while, Milwaukee to me wasn't even the second best team. Like for a while, it was Philly when Embiid was playing the way he was playing before he got hurt, and then New York after the OG Anunoby trade, and still now playing great. So it's like Milwaukee has never really been on that Celtic level to me this year, and I don't think any team has been on that level. Now that doesn't mean that Celtics are gonna breeze past the East, because there's a lot of competition in the East. Like you're not just gonna beat Giannis with no fight. You're not just gonna beat Dame and Giannis together with no fight, and you're not just going to beat if Embiid's back. You're not going to beat them with no fight, even though I understand Embiid has playoff concerns that we'll talk about later. You're not just going to beat them with no fight. And you're not going to beat a team like Miami. We know what they do in the playoffs. You're not going to beat them with no fight. So it's not it's not like it's easy for them in the East, but I'm just saying the regular season, it's been them and everyone else. To me, they're my title favorite. Have been since the offseason with all the trades they did. They've been my title favorite. Both conferences, not just the East. Like they're my favorite to come out of the East. They're my favorite to win the title. Have been all year. We know what they are. We know what Boston is. And the thing that I think puts them ahead is just the level of experience that not just their star players, like everybody on their roster, with the exception of Kristaps, has like deep playoff experience. A lot of it was with Boston, but then you, like I said, Drew Holiday, like even their coach now, like last year was his first year being the head coach. You know what I'm saying? Like they got a lot of experience now. It's gonna be tough to beat them. I know guys like Giannis and Dame have experience, but Giannis more than Dame because he has that ring, but. Then, to me, let's go on to Milwaukee. The big problem with Milwaukee for me, it's not Giannis or Dame. Their defense has been way better since they hired Doc Rivers. Offense, there's still some questions. I think they have been running that Giannis and Dame. I haven't been watching a lot of Bucks basketball, but they have been using that Giannis Dame pick and roll more than they were in the beginning of the year when they weren't using it nearly enough to me. But the biggest question for them, it has to be Doc Rivers. I know he has that 2008 ring. I understand it, but most Game 7 losses, like most, I think like 3-1 or 3-2 series lead, like that he blew, like something like that. Like they got questions over there with Milwaukee, which is why to me it's like I said, Boston, everyone else. It's just there's so many questions there's not even a lot, but there is more questions with every other team than there is with Boston. I understand like Boston lives and dies by the three. People have concerns about that. I even have concerns about that. But it's like Jason Tatum is 6'10". If that three's not falling, I need him to just go to the paint and just start driving. That's what we need him to do. Like, we need him to do that anyway. You know, well, not we. I'm not a Celtics fan, but you understand what I'm saying. Like, that's the St. Louis homie. I'm praying for him. Hope he gets this ring this year. But, like, I trust Boston more. They have guys that can shoot, but they have guys that can slash. Like, they live and die by the three, but they're such a good three-point shooting team that it works more often than not. Now, when it's not falling, it does look bad. Like I think one of those games versus the Nuggets, it just like wasn't falling a lot. But then like when it is falling, like versus the Warriors, you see what happens. They have 80 points and they're up by 50 at half. Like, and I'm not saying that's a regular occurrence, but we understand what these two teams are. We understand what the problems are with these two teams as well. And to me, it's Boston here, and then it's everyone else. And like I'll put Milwaukee too. Like it's Boston, Milwaukee, and then it's like. But to me, it's really just Boston. Like, there's going to be competition, like I said, but them Boston boys, man, like, it's easy in the East for them. But let's talk about the other teams. So, let's go. There's 2 or 3 teams in the East that I believe you can make a case for to at least make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And to me, that's New York. Oh, there's 3 to me, actually. There's 3, not 2 or 3. There's New York, Cleveland, Miami. And I know, like, Miami's in the play, and you probably think I'm wrong. Like I said, I believe they will be able to move up to the 6, maybe even the 5, but to the 6 at least. But it's like, we know what Miami is. They were in the play-in last year as the 8 seed, beat the Bucks as the 1 seed, made it all the way to the finals, took a game off the Nuggets. Just one game, I think. Yeah, it took 1 game off the Nuggets. It's like, we know what playoff Jimmy is. We know Coach Spo, to me, is the best coach in the league. To a lot of people, he's widely regarded as the best coach in the league. We know what they do. I really like Jaime Jaquez. He's had a great rookie year. Didn't expect him to be this good. But he's had a great rookie year. Definitely like a top 5 rookie of the year vote type guy, maybe 4 or 5. He's been really good. If he can keep that up in the playoffs, which is a lot to ask for a rookie, but if he can keep that up and they can stay healthy with Hero and with Duncan Robinson playing the way he's been playing this year, where he's actually not just living and dying by the 3, like he can actually get to the paint. Like we've been seeing him get to the paint more than ever this year. So it's not like where like 80% of his shots are 3s now. It's not that anymore, which is great. I think that adds a whole new layer, and we know what Bam is. Miami's one of those teams that you can never really count out. And then let's go over to Philly. Like I said, it's tough because we don't know what's going on with Joel Embiid. I'm going to assume he won't be back, so I'm going to say they're not making it out of the first round. But if he is back, that's going to be a team that, like, let's say they make it out of the play-in. Let's say they make it to the 7 seed. They would play Milwaukee. That's a series now. That's not like an easy series for Milwaukee, and it wouldn't be an easy series for for Boston either if they ended up playing Boston after the play-in, assuming they make it out with Embiid. Like, Philly's a team where I understand Embiid has a lot of postseason question marks. He has not showed up in the postseason in his career. Like, I'm a Toronto fan. Trust me, I know that firsthand. I watched him not show up versus us multiple times, actually, but that one year, 2019 specifically. But, like, we know there's question marks there, but it's like Tyrese Maxey been playing great, and then they are under Nick Nurse now. We know who Nick Nurse is, championship winning coach. Like, Nick Nurse is the real deal. So if they are fully healthy, I like their depth. I like Kelly Oubre. I really do like their depth. This year, I understand that it's not like they don't have the star power like last year when they had Harden, but Tyrese Maxey has been great, and he was great when Embiid was playing. I know things haven't looked great for them recently, which is why I'm saying if Embiid's not back, if they make it out of the play-in, first round exit, if Embiid's not back, it hasn't looked great for them. Like they were like the 3 seed when Embiid went down. They're now in the play-in for a reason. You're not just gonna be good when your MVP center is out. It's not gonna happen. So yeah, and then Cleveland. Now, Cleveland's real interesting to me because Cleveland and New York are real interesting to me because they're similar teams. Like they have a lot of good players all around. I like both coaches. I like Thibodeau and I like I can't even think of Cleveland's coach right now, but I like them both. I don't know why I can't think of it, but I like them both. I like both teams. Genuinely. I like both teams. I like both teams' depth. I like what both teams have. The problem with me is the same for both teams, though, and a little more with Cleveland than New York because, like, Jared Allen last year in the playoffs talking about the lights were too bright. I don't expect that to happen again, but it's like that is a little more worrying. That whereas New York, I don't have those concerns like OG Anunoby. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't have as many concerns about them performing in the playoffs. It's just I don't believe either team has that 1A top 10 player that is like that you need traditionally to win a championship. Unless you're the Spurs in 2014 or the Pistons in 2005. It's like you're not really 2005. You're not really gonna win a ring like that without. It doesn't happen often is what I'm saying. You're not winning a ring really without a top 10 player in basketball. I don't think either team has one. And it's really hard to win a team when a small guard is your primary guy, like a Jalen Brunson, like a Donovan Mitchell, who's not really small. I think Donovan Mitchell's like, is he 6'3"? He might be small. I don't know. But Jalen Brunson for sure. Like Jalen Brunson's not that tall. He might be like 5'11", 6 foot from what like people like other people I've heard saying like when they meet him, he's not tall at all. So I just don't know. It's hard. Like AI led a team to the finals being a small guy. Didn't win one though. Like you got to really look at Steph Curry to be one of those guys who's like led a team to finals recently and won multiple rings recently as the 1A guy. And then another team to me that is very interesting in the East is like okay, there's the other two teams in the East that are like, you know what I'm saying? They're going to be in the playoffs, but I don't expect them to do anything. Orlando and Indiana, I think they're both too young. I think they're both too incomplete. Neither one of them has that 1A top 10 guy either. Tyrese Halliburton's been great this year, but neither team to me is good enough to win a ring this year. I think both teams are missing some things. Both teams aren't ready yet. It's good for them to both be in the playoffs, especially Orlando, to see this jump after a lot of people didn't expect them to like be in this. Like right now, they're the 5 seed. They're out of the play-in right now. They would play Cleveland in the first, or New York. They would play Cleveland or New York in the first round. I can't remember, but either way, I think they would lose. But it's good for them to be there. You know what I'm saying? Like it's at least, they played New York, so they would lose probably 5 games, but it's good for them to at least be in there. You know what I'm saying? And then in the play-in, Chicago, Atlanta. I don't think either team's gonna make it out of the play-in, but I could definitely see Atlanta making it out of the play-in. I could see Atlanta coming in as the AC, doing what they did last year to the Celtics, taking a game or two. I don't think it'd be 2. I think Atlanta could come in and take a game from the Celtics, maybe make it a 5-game series, but neither one of those teams is doing much. I don't even think their fans expect them to do much. Both teams were expected to make some trades, neither team really did. So it's like, off season's what your fans have to look forward to. No offense, I'm a Raptors fan. I don't have anything to look forward to either, so I'm not trying to be rude, it's just the truth. So let's move on to the West. I talked about every East team, I believe, so let's move on to the West. The West is it's tough right now. Like, it's really interesting. Like I said, Warriors, Lakers halftime right now. It's probably over by now, but I'll finish watching that game after this. So the West. Currently, as you can see, Nuggets are the 1 seed, followed by OKC, Minnesota, the Clippers, the Pelicans, and then the Kings. And then in the play-in, like I said, as of right now, as you can see, the Suns, the Mavs, the Lakers, and the Warriors are 7, 8, 9, 10 in that order. And you could genuinely make a case for probably 8 or 9 of these teams to at least make it to the Western Conference Finals. Like, genuinely, of the 10 play-in teams in the West, if you wanted to tell me you could see 7, 8, 9 of them realistically in at least the Western Conference Finals, like in it. I'm not saying winning it, but in it, I'm not mad at you, but there are 2 really strong title contenders to me, and there's one that's above the rest, kind of like in the East. It's Denver, reigning defending champions. Jokic looks like he's probably going to win MVP. If they do secure the 1 seed, I'm expecting that he'll win MVP. We know who they are. championship last year. They returned most of the same core. Lost Bruce Brown, which is, that is a big piece. Definitely is a big piece. I don't want to underestimate that. Their bench has questions. They do have a little bit of a young bench, you know what I'm saying? But it's not like they have like super, super inexperienced guys. Like Christian Brown did get a ring last year, you know what I'm saying? He did play some minutes too, like in the finals. Like he didn't just get a free ring. Like he definitely played some minutes. And we've seen what they do when fully healthy. We know what Murray and Jokic are as a duo. Michael Porter Jr., we know what he is. He's going to knock those shots down. And when they're falling for him, there's really nothing you can do. He's 6'10". Like, when he's hot, there's not a contest in the world that's getting him to miss that shot. So we know who Denver is. I love Mike Malone, their coach. We know he's one of the best coaches in the league. Definitely. We know how dominant they are at home. I believe they've lost 7 home games this year, and then in the playoffs last year, I don't even know if they lost a home game. Like, I don't actually think they did lose a home game in the playoffs last year. Like, we know what they are at home. If they get the 1 seed, they'd obviously have home court throughout the playoffs until probably the finals if they met the Celtics. So yeah, to me, Denver's strongest option, 1A in the West, but it's not like it is in the East where I believe there's 1, 2. For me, I believe it's like 1A, 1B, and then it's like 2A, 2B, 2C. Like there's a lot of teams that are on the same tier, and the other team I would put in that region with the Nuggets is the Clippers. Veteran leadership, coach leadership that has won a ring before, Ty Lue. There are question marks, obviously. With a team this old, you got to be concerned about health. And then there's 2 big question marks for me, too, that are really concerning besides the health. What is PG going to look like in the playoffs? What is Harden going to look like in the playoffs? Both have had questions recently about their playoff performances, especially Harden. We don't know what he's going to look like. I trust Kawhi. I've seen him win 2 rings, get 2 finals MVPs. One of them from my team where I was watching every game that year. Like, I've seen him do it. Have no question whether or not he can do it again. My only question, again, is can he stay healthy? Can they all stay healthy? I have no questions about Westbrook either. After the way he played last year in the playoffs with Kawhi and PG out, he was single-handedly doing everything for them. And, like, I have no questions about him. They got great guys off the bench, Norman Powell, Terrence Mann, great guys. But then I think the biggest question for them, to me, besides health, like I'm saying every team's gonna be healthy right now. Like I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? Like let's just say every team's gonna be pretty healthy. Besides the teams that are actually missing a player right now, like big injuries, like the like Cat with the Minnesota or Embiid with Philly. Like I'm saying every other team, let's just pray they're healthy. The big question for me is Zubats. I don't know how to say his name, Zubats, but the West is dominated by bigs. You got Sabonis, who's been cooking for Sacramento. We're going to talk about him and them later. You got AD for LA. We'll talk about them later. And you got Jokic. You know who Jokic is. You have the duo of Cat and Gobert. We know who they are. Like, bro, it's tough. The bigs in the West right now, it's really tough. Which is why for me, I'm not really sure about the Clippers. It's like if they were to face off against the Nuggets, I'm picking the Nuggets, but like I'm picking the Nuggets because of that question about Zubats. I'm not picking Zubats to do nothing with Jokic. And sure, they could put Kawhi on. They could do some other things where like, you know what I'm saying, where maybe like you let Zubats sit in the paint because you sit him on a guy like Aaron Gordon, and if Aaron Gordon's not in the paint, you're not really guarding him on the 3-point line or anything like that. So I understand that, but it's like then he's not fast enough to stay with Aaron Gordon, and it's just like I don't know, man. I can't pick them over the Nuggets for that reason. It's like they don't have a Jokic answer where like I mean no one has a Jokic answer, but it's like at least they don't have a big that I can even think about that can contend with him, and really no one can. But it's like Zubac definitely can't. No offense. Again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just saying like that is the big question for me. Well, I'm not saying he definitely can't. He can prove me wrong. I'm just gonna say I don't see it happening. I don't expect it to happen. I wouldn't bet on it to happen. And then after those 2 teams, you got 3 teams to me that you can never count out. These are the 3 teams that I'm not saying they're contenders, but I'm not counting them out as contenders either because of the star power, the veteran leadership. These guys are led by some of the best players of all time. You know what 3 teams these are. You probably can guess it. It's Phoenix, the Warriors, and the Lakers. You can't count out Steph. You can't count out LeBron. You can't count out KD, especially when he has Booker and Beal with him, another St. Louis homeboy. But, well, I don't know him, but you know what I'm saying, from St. Louis. It's like you can't count any of these 3 guys out. And right now, let's start off talking about Phoenix, who to me is the worst of not the worst, but the team that I trust the least out of these 3 teams, and that's just because Phoenix has been awful this year in the fourth quarter. Like there was a time, like probably November, December, they literally were the worst fourth quarter team of all time. and it's not that bad anymore since All-Star break. It's actually been well, not decent, but it's been better. It's been decent compared to what it was earlier in the year. And then another question with them, similar to the Clippers, it's health. They haven't really been healthy. The big three of Bill, Booker, KD, they haven't been healthy together all season really. Like they haven't played too many minutes together. So you got to worry about that. And then another thing you got to worry about to me is depth. I'm not expecting Grayson Allen to go out there in the playoffs and have a huge impact. Like he'll get some good defensive stops. I'm sure he'll definitely be one of those guys from the 3-point line where you don't want to leave him or anything like that. You're not going to leave him. But it's like their bench isn't anything special. It's bad if you ask me. And I understand rotations will be shortened given it's playoffs. But like it's just not good. Like their bench isn't good. I take the Warriors bench over theirs. I take the Lakers bench over theirs. I take probably every bench in the Western playoffs over theirs, including the play-in. Like if I'm thinking about it off the top of my head, probably. Like yeah, I really have bad questions about their bench. I have questions about their health. And I also don't trust KD to lead a team. I don't trust KD or Booker, whichever one of them you want to say is the leader. I don't trust either of them to lead the team past these other Western powerhouses more than I would trust LeBron and more than I would trust Steph Curry. I feel like that's obvious. I don't think anyone should trust them more than LeBron or Steph Curry. These are two guys that have 4 rings. You can't trust either one of them more than Steph or LeBron. So that's why to me, the Suns are the team I trust the least out of those three. Like if I had to bet one of those 3 teams, it wouldn't be the Suns. But then at the same time, as things sit right now, Lakers, Warriors will play each other in the play-in first game of the play-in. So it's like one of those teams will be eliminated immediately. Like I said, as things sit right now, I think 7, 8, 9 are all within. It's like one game 7, 8, one game 8, 9, one game 9, 10. Like I'm pretty sure they're all one game in between each other. And the whole West is like that basically. Like from 1, 2 to 3, it's all like a game or half a game or game and a half. Like there's not a lot of separation in terms of games and everything like that. So it's like any of these teams could move up, move down. But I'm just saying, as things sit right now, one of those teams would be eliminated. And if I had to pick, I'd pick the Warriors to lose that game just because Lakers fully healthy with AD and everything. It's just one game. It's not a 7-game series. I'd probably just, and Lakers would be at home. I probably would just trust the Lakers a little more. But it's like, let's just go ahead and go to the Lakers. Questions with them too. Health. Old team. Well, led by 2 older guys, and then AD has always had questions even though he's not that old. He's always had health questions even though he's not that old. And then the biggest, I'd say there's 3 biggest problems besides the health. Inconsistency with role players. Like, what is D'Lo gonna do? I don't know if y'all can see that, but my computer just did a little thumbs up thing. But anyway, what is D'Lo gonna do? What is Rui Hachimura going to do? What are any of these? What are Jackson Hayes? I don't know how many of these guys are going to play, but what is Vanderbilt going to do when he's back? Like, how are these guys going to play come playoff time? Dinwiddie, you can't, based off the playoffs last year, you definitely just can't trust their role players. Like, you can't go in there thinking they're going to play well, even though they're playing well right now. Like, D'Lo was doing this last year, and they didn't play well in the playoffs. Like, they were making missing posters and stuff for him on Twitter, like, I remember. So you can't trust that. And then there are 2 real problems, especially in today's NBA, and especially with a team like the Warriors. They don't shoot threes well, and then they don't stop teams from shooting threes well. That's not going to go well, bro. Like, how are you going to stop Jamal Murray from shooting threes? And if you can't stop him, you can't even keep up with him, really. Like, you might have D'Lo have one hot game from 3, or D'Lo and Rui get hot the same game for 3, and then you can torch him or whatever team it is. But it's tough when you can't guard the 3 and then you can't shoot threes consistently well in this NBA, which to me is why I'm not picking any of these 3 teams, Golden State, Phoenix, or LA, to go to the Western Conference Finals or anything. I'm just saying I could see it just because of their leadership, just because of who is on that roster. Like, you can never count them out. But all 3 of these teams are flawed, and let's just go ahead and go on to the Warriors. A big problem to me, which is a problem with a lot of these teams in the West that I don't have as true contenders, lack of size. What do you expect Draymond, TJD, Trace Jackson Davis, Looney, what do you expect them to do with Jokic? What do you expect them to do if you go up against a 2-big lineup like Cat and Gobert, assuming Cat's healthy? Like, if you play OKC first round or something, let's say you make it out of the play and you play OKC first round, that might be okay because their main big is Chet. They don't really have, like, a dominant big like some of these other teams in the West, which is cool. That's good. Like I said, this is why I could see the Warriors making a deep playoff run, just because it just depends on matchups. And then we know who Steph Curry is, bro. We can't count him out. We know what their core is. Can't count them out. Let's pray Wiggins plays better. If Wiggins can play like he played in that 2022 run or just close to it, and then if Kuminga can keep playing the way he's played ever since he cut his hair, like, he's been playing great. If they can do that, they can really beat any team. It's just, but I wouldn't bet on it, but they could beat any team realistically. The biggest problem, besides the size, the second biggest problem to me, lack of offense besides Curry. Like, like you saw what it looked like the last few games when Curry was out. It wasn't great. Obviously, offense isn't going to be great when your best player's out. The greatest shooter of all time is out. One of the best offensive players of all time is out. But it's like, in the playoffs, bro, there's going to be teams that have a lot of length, like teams like Minnesota, teams like OKC, where they have a lot of defenders they can throw at Steph. It's like, what are your other guys going to do? They don't have that duo guy like with LA that has LeBron and AD. Like, they don't have that other guy that you can say is step up if they throw great defenders at Curry. Like, that's why I like the Clippers so much, because they have so many guys that can score the ball at will. Like, they have realistically 4 guys in the Norman Powell off the bench that can really score the ball whenever they want. Like, Russ even counts too. Like, off the bench, Russ can really score in transition, especially whenever he wants, bro. So it's like the Warriors don't have that as much, which is why I have concerns about them. And then let's move on to my next 2 teams. These aren't like tiers or anything. I'm just talking about teams because like these 2 were similar to me, and then the last 2 were similar to me. These 2, Dallas and Sacramento, they're interesting. I wouldn't bet on either to make it out of the West. I trust Dallas more than Sacramento just because of Luka and Kyrie. They're both experienced. Luka took his team to the Western Conference Finals 2022. Kyrie has a ring. We know who Kyrie is. Like, they're experienced. To me, the problem is Derek Lively. Like I said, what are you going to do against Jokic and them? What are you going to do against teams when you... That's what I'm thinking about as contenders. Because in contenders, you're going to have to see these teams like the Clippers. You're going to have to see these teams like Denver, I assume. You're going to have to see a Minnesota or something, I assume. Like, you're going to have to see some of these really good teams, and teams like Minnesota and teams like Jokic who have great bigs, and Dallas just doesn't have that. I like Gafford. I like P.J. Washington. I like the moves they did at the deadline. But it's like there's so many questions, especially with the bigs. And then Tim Hardaway Jr., how's he going to play? Like, is he going to be consistently? Can he shoot? Can he not shoot? Like, for the playoffs, Derek Lively, like, how's he going to play? He's a rookie. You can't really, you know what I'm saying? You can't expect a lot. Like, he's been great this year, but I'm not expecting it too much in the playoffs because, like, it's first rookie. You can't expect too much. He's a rookie. You have no idea what he's going to do in the playoffs if they go up against one of those bigger teams in the second or conference finals if they go that far. You know what I'm saying? And it's like that for me. For Sacramento, I love De'Aaron Fox. I like Sabonis, but it's like with the way the Sabonis played in the playoffs last year, you can't just go out and automatically trust him just because he's been on a tear this year. You can't just trust him. They couldn't trust him last year, so I'm not just going to go into it assuming he's going to play well. I do expect him to play better this year in the playoffs because that was like his real first playoff experience. So I do expect him to play better this year in the playoffs, but I'm just not going to put them over some of those other teams up top. And like, Sabonis has been great against AD. So, like, if they end up playing the Lakers in, like, some round, if they ever met the Lakers, which I don't think they could based on the standings, unless there was, like, second round or something. But, no, I don't even think they could then, actually. But, no, they could. Yeah, they could. But, it's just, like, I understand he's been dominant. Like, I don't think I think AD's, like, 0-10 against Sabonis in his career. But they ain't been in the playoffs, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, what about LeBron is still there. It's not just AD's team. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I can't really pick them over a team like Dallas. I can't pick them over a lot of those teams in the West. But I like them. I just don't see them making it out of the second round. And then OKC and Minnesota are 2 of those top 3 seeds that are really interesting to me. And both could make a lot of noise. Please don't get me wrong. Either team could make it to the Western Conference Finals. Very well, either team could. But I wouldn't bet on it. For me, the biggest question for Minnesota is Cat going to play? And to me, they're the better team. They have the better chance of making it out of the West. They took 2 games from the Nuggets last year with a team that had a lot less figured out. You know what I'm saying? Like, this team feels more together. Anthony Edwards has been better this year. Their whole team has been better this year. The defense has been better this year. Gobert's going to win Defensive Player of the Year. But there are still questions, like, is that double big lineup going to work come playoff times versus teams that can run small ball? You know what I'm saying? And that can run you out of that where they make Rudy Gobert a non-factor. You just kind of got to take him out of the game. Like, what are they going to do against those teams? And it's like, is Cat going to play? Biggest question, obviously. I'm going to assume he is because he tweeted, like, some cryptic tweet a few days ago or something like that. But I'm pretty sure he's going to play or at least be back. Let's say they go to the second round. I'm sure he'd be back by the second round, so that's good for them. But then OKC, to me, OKC's too young. I think this is the first real playoff experience, this core. I think it'll be good playoff experience for them. They very well could make it out of the first round, but they will have some tough competition with one of those veteran teams coming out of the play-in. So I could see them losing in the first round. These are both 2 teams to me that, like, they could go far. I could see them losing in the first round. I could see them losing in the second round, but I couldn't see either one of them winning the West. I could see either one of them in the Western Conference Finals. I couldn't see either one winning the West, especially not OKC. Minnesota has the better chance to me. And then the last team that I want to talk about in the West is the last team in the playoff picture, New Orleans. They're the most difficult team to place for me because it's like there's always health questions there, especially with Zion, like Brandon Ingram, even like CJ McCollum. There's always health questions there, but they're very good. They're very deep. To me, Herb Jones is like an all defensive team lock, first or second. I don't care. He's an all defensive team lock. But I can't put this team, like, this is a very good team, don't get me wrong. I cannot put them above any of these other teams in the West that are in the playoff picture. Not any of them. I'm not saying they're the worst. Like, I could put them above a Sacramento. There are teams in the West that I believe they could beat. Like, I could see them beating a Phoenix. I could see them beating some of these other teams in the West. You know what I'm saying? I don't know where to place them. It's really going to depend on matchups for me to see where I place them. But I don't see them getting to the Western Conference Finals. I could very well see them, and you know what I'm saying, in the second round. I could also see them like the Pelicans and Kings are one of those teams where like both could very well lose in like a 7-game series in the first round. Like, I believe the Western Conference playoffs this year are going to be so competitive. I believe like most series in the West are going to go at least 6 games because of just how much talent there is. Like, it's so deep. There's so many talented players in the West. I don't really know what you're going to do. Like, I believe the NBA is going to make a lot of revenue off of these West playoffs because there's, like, me personally, if let's say the playoffs were to start right now, I'd be tuned into every series and very interested to see who wins every series. Whereas in the East, for that first round, it's like, okay, this team should win, this team should win, this team should win in the first round at least. But in the West, bro, I think every round, every single game in the West is going to be must watch. Like, it's going to be really interesting in the West. It's hard to pick, but yeah, like I said, for me, the title favorites are Boston and Denver. For me, my favorite is Boston. I think the most likely finals matchup is Boston versus Denver. For me, I don't know what other people's second choices are. I know a lot of people are high on Milwaukee. A lot of people are high on LA. A lot of people are high on Minnesota. For me, the second highest, LA Clippers, not Lakers, but people are high on them too. For me, my second finals pick would be Boston versus the Clippers. That was my first finals pick for a while when the Clippers were like 20-5 or something like that. Like leading up to the All-Star break, I probably would have picked the Clippers over Denver maybe, but since the All-Star break, Denver's looked so good. Denver's looked so dominant. I'm not picking anyone in the West over Denver right now, barring injury, but it's like the Clippers will give any team a fight. Either like Boston, the Clippers will give any team a fight on either conference. So it's like I'm not counting them out. I do believe they are my second favorite to win the West, and I believe they are my third favorite title contenders. For me, if I had to like do odds or something, it would be Boston, Denver, Clippers, and then everyone else to win the finals this year. But yeah, this was a long video. I think we're done now. Yeah, we're definitely done now. So yeah, those are my contenders. That's what I think about the playoff picture for both conferences. And yeah, so let's end us off right now. I'm gonna end us off with our Bible verse. And let me go see what I picked today. So let me end us off with our Bible verse today. It comes from Psalms 94:14, which states that, "For the Lord will not reject his people. He will never forsake his inheritance." God bless y'all. Have a good day. Thank you for watching.